Hello, spirits and friends. Welcome to the Silva Lining. I'm Funeral Lady. My human name is Amy Silva Rigtrup, and I'm a fifth generation Silva family funeral director here in Massachusetts. I'm so happy that you're here with me. I so enjoy doing this every week. And I come on here and do all these things because I really believe that we all have a fractured relationship with death and dying and grief. And if we can talk about it more, say better goodbyes, and just kind of get around the stigma of it all, we can just be happier people. We can love better. We can live happier lives. So that's my goal. And I'm going to try to accomplish that by doing many things, like talking about a bunch of funeral stuff, talking about grief, introducing you to a bunch of my amazing friends and people that I work with in the funeral industry, because that's part of why I love what I do. And I don't want to just talk to you about what I do. I want you to experience all the wonderful things about this world that I live and work in, because it's part of why I think people in the funeral industry are some of the best human beings you could ever meet. We're definitely the most fun you could ever hang out with. That's for sure. Hello, Bay Harbor Beauty. Oh, I thought I silenced my phone. It's not supposed to do notifications, but that's okay. Um, anyway, hello, Bay Harbor Beauty. Thank you for being here. I got all my new stuff this week. I got the copper serum and the revitalizing moisturizer, like the eye cream, magic eye cream that is making me feel younger. Now it's for my whole face and it's amazing. You need to try out Bay Harbor Beauty's products. They're amazing. If you're looking for something that is affordable, that works well, and that is absolutely clean, no bullshit. There's no crappy products in anything that she makes. And I know her. Like, she's the person that actually like does the chemistry and the science and mixes the things together and makes it. Like, this is awesome. This is awesome. So getting to know Julie at Bay Harbor Beauty has been amazing. And if you're looking for some love for your skin, and that's a place to go. Hello, Diana Cole. How are you? Hi, Lady Wags. Hey, just saw the Facebook post and was going to ask if it's water. Tuning in to learn. You are correct. We are going to be talking about water cremation today. Yes, yes, yes. You know what's up, Lady Wags. It's amazing that there are different options for cremation besides just what everyone knows about, which is fire cremation, where you go to a crematory and there is an oven called a retort, and the body is heated up with fire in order to burn off any organic matter and pretty much get left over with pure carbon, bone fragment mostly, and that gets pulverized into what we know as cremains, cremated remains, commonly called ashes. So water cremation is a different way, and we are definitely going to be talking about that. Before we get there, I wanted to do a little housekeeping. If everyone that is watching on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter could just share the stream, if you could visit my YouTube page at some point and subscribe, that would be absolutely amazing. You'll notice I added my Funeral Lady Venmo up at the corner there. Please do not feel pressured. This is only if you would like to contribute to the channel. There is no expectation and no obligation, but it's all very, very much appreciated to support, the brain power of what I do. And I just support and I appreciate every single one of you being here anyway. So no pressure at all. I just want to be able to help and educate and chat with as many people as I can, as long as I can. Hi. Ooh, yes. Bay Harbor Beauty, I will enjoy it. And I am enjoying it. Only 3 days, and I've noticed a difference. And the copper serum is like the coolest color. It's in this like black, I don't know, pump bottle. So you can't really see what it looks like. And then you pump it out, and it's the coolest blue color serum I've ever seen. I was not expecting this beautiful blue to come out, especially thinking copper. So it was a nice surprise. I'm enjoying it. And yeah, check out Bay Harbor Beauty if you can. And I don't know if Ben Rosa is here with us yet today, but if we do see Ben Rosa today, please, he is our beloved friend. He is a friend of mine here in Taunton. He is the person that has named my fans the Spirits. He is someone that we all love and cherish. And he sadly lost his mother this week. Sorry, I don't know how to silence that. I thought notifications were off. I turned that on. Okay, let's see if that works. So Ben Rosa has lost his mother this week. And if you're listening and you're watching, please send virtual love and hugs to Ben Rosa, because we love him and we want to honor and cherish Mama Rosa. And we hope that she is looking down, knowing how much her son is loved and cherished by all of us. So that being said, we're going to talk about water cremation. And the person that I'm bringing on to talk about this is a gentleman by the name of Jonathan DaPonte. And the way that I met him is kind of a beautiful story, and he's in the waiting room right now. So I'll bring him on in a few minutes, but I'm going to embarrass him first and talk about how meeting him was probably one of my favorite pre-arrangements ever, because we got to destroy it. So he, years and years and years and moons ago, when I was beginning my funeral directing career, anytime that we had a veteran that we were doing a funeral for and they wanted military honors, we would have to reach out to the local honor guard, depending on which branch that veteran served. So anytime that I needed the Army, for many years, Jonathan ran the honor guard for the Army. And what stood out about him was, prior to that, I had worked with all the branches and the previous gentleman that was running the Army honor guard, and they were all wonderful, but the system was very not human connected. It was get the information, put it in a fax, send it out, and just hope and pray that it'll work out and that you'll have the honor guard there, and you wait for that confirmation so that you can breathe and know that the family is going to have the military honors that they're hoping to have at the cemetery. And it's kind of stressful for a funeral director until things are confirmed. We're kind of like, anything can go wrong. And you just have a fax in a dream. And then here comes Jonathan running the honor guard, and he walks into my funeral home one day to introduce himself and say, hey, I'm running the honor guard now. Here's my cell phone number. Like, you need to book me, give me a call, we can coordinate it, set it up right away. Like, there was a face, there was a person, and there was a cell phone number attached to this process. And it meant the world to me as a funeral director that, you know, as you'll learn from more and more shows, there's so much behind what we do when we're planning a funeral. And having this one section be handled so well meant the world to me. So for a couple of years, he was my boy, helping out with all these amazing honor guard situations that we had many of. And then one day he showed up at my funeral home, and he was not there to talk about the honor guard. He showed up and he had a very serious face, and he said, Amy, I need to sit down with you. I want to make all of my arrangements so that my mother does not have to make any decisions because I am being deployed. And I was like, okay, I do not want to do this, but I will do this, and we will write everything down, and we will pick everything out, and then we will put it in a folder, and then I never want to look at it again, and then you're going to come back, and we are going to burn it and destroy it and have a party. Okay? And that's what we did. We sat down and we made all the arrangements so that, God forbid, anything happened, his mother wouldn't have to decide anything. And I didn't see him again for years. And then all of a sudden, I'm working awake on an evening, and he just walks into my office and he's like, hey, you got a pre-need to shred? And I was like, oh my God, Jonathan! So we got to ceremonially shred his pre-arrangement, and it was like the best feeling in the world. And I also got to find out that in his journey after deployment, he ended up getting the calling and wanting to become a funeral director. So I'll let him tell you that story and how he has gone from there to now owning his own funeral home in Vermont and having the only water cremation, I don't know what you call it, device or chamber in all of New England. The only one in New England is the one in Vermont that my friend Jonathan DaPonte owns and manages. So let's bring him on and say hello to Mr. DaPonte. Hello, my friends.
Hello, that was quite an introduction.
Hey, I try. Your story is so awesome.
Well, it certainly is a unique one. I bet that's the only one probably through most of funeral service. Although most people use the pre-arrangement, we got to shred it in a
Yeah,
joyous
it was
way.
so much better.
Yeah.
So much better. Everybody should. I mean, most pre-arrangements that I do, I like to joke like, okay, now that's done, that's set, I never want to see you again. Or like, I'm not ready for you for at least 45, 50 years, you know?
Yep. It's certainly a unique thing. So a couple of things I just wanted to touch on. My brand of the water cremation is called Fireless Cremation.
Fireless. I like that.
So I am the only fireless cremation provider from actually on the Eastern Seaboard, except for my friend Joe Brown in Baltimore, Maryland.
Wow. So that is still a lot of area that.
Yeah. There are other providers of the water cremation. However, they are not the same as mine. My brand is Fireless Cremation, and that's just it's a branding thing.
Oh, okay. Like a brand of the device itself.
Exactly. So think of water cremation as soda, and then my brand is Coca-Cola, and the other brand.
Okay, and Coke is far better.
Oh yeah.
Obviously.
I find my brand. I don't have any of the concerns that other operators across the country are suggesting that they have. I haven't had any of those concerns in any way, shape, or form.
Good, that's great, and I'm sure the company is happy to hear that as well.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So the kind of touch upon it. And I do have the traditional flame-based cremation. So when we think of what a cremation is, you need some sort of the fuel source, right?
Right.
The bonds in our deceased. And with the traditional cremation, we're actually using heat. It's not fire per se, it's heat. And that heat is created from propane or natural gas, but some kind of combustion. That's
right.
what the heat. And that's what does the work of breaking the bonds in the deceased. With the water cremation, we are substituting in. We're taking out the natural gas or the propane and the heat and substituting water and an alkaline solution and a less of heat. My particular brand, instead of the typical cremation machines run at about 1600 degrees, my water cremation or my Fireless brand, its cycle is 155 degrees, somewhere in that vicinity.
Oh, wow.
It's quite a lot less. It uses alkaline solution to have that same effect of breaking the bonds in the deceased so that we can have cremains left over.
And by what I've read about it, there's a lot of benefits in terms of when you look at like emissions and the environmental impact.
Yes, there is. And it's very difficult to ascertain exactly what it is because, hey, this uses some chemicals to come on in. Those chemicals got to be shipped. We don't know what that carbon footprint is there, but from an end user point of my facility, once I have all the stuff and for me to do the cremation, it's about a 95% less of a carbon footprint in comparison to the traditional flame base there.
Wow. That is vastly different. And how long have you had this at your facility?
We're coming up a little past a year now.
Wow, very exciting.
Yeah, yep.
That went by fast. It feels like the other day you were like, I'm doing a thing, Amy.
The time did fly by. You learn everything, something new every day.
Yeah.
It's been quite a learning opportunity just because it's a science. Traditional flame-based cremation, there is a science behind it, but the machine does a lot of the work. And learning how this machine operated and how it works was, I feel like I have an engineering degree now, but just because I was so involved in learning how it operates, every single little thing. Um, I I've seen them put it together, so I've seen every little intricate piece of it, and it's quite the although it looks kind of standard, it doesn't look impressive when you recognize the technology and the labor and love that's put
Yeah.
into. Boy, it's quite impressive.
That is incredible. And I like to always talk about too in a lot of my videos that what people don't realize, I think, about our industry as a whole is we're not a directive industry. We're not the kind of industry that's like, hey, we're going to tell you consumers how we think funerals should be done. Like we kind of adapt to the needs and the wants and the curiosities and preferences of the people that we serve, right? And it just makes sense to me that you're in Vermont, you're in an area where I could see this being meaningful to a lot of people. But I love letting people know that like the ability to change what funerals look like for the better for humanity is in the hands of every consumer. Like if someone comes to us and they're like, you know what, I want a parade around the street with horses, like we will make that happen for your funeral. And I noticed like you guys in Vermont, you're able to have a crematory and the water cremation because our state, Massachusetts, doesn't allow it. But I noticed on your website too, like you have an event center, which is also really amazing.
Yeah, yeah. We've truly made the funeral home not just be a standalone or just a place for viewing a deceased, for lack of a better term. We've
Right.
did a life event center, and what's really unique with my funeral home is there are other facilities, but my crematory is physically attached and within the funeral home.
Right.
So I don't bring deceased anywhere. I do it myself. So there's that, for lack of a better term, chain of custody, and it's been quite entirely different. I have the ability where I can have visiting hours at night with your loved one present, 7 to 9 o'clock. I can effect the cremation overnight and have cremains to be buried with your family the next day at 9 o'clock in the morning at the cemetery.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah,
huge. I don't know if anyone watching knows how big that is. Like normally to show a difference here in Massachusetts, we are not able to own and operate crematories. So if that same scenario was happening here and we had a wake from 7 to 9, say on a Monday, we would not be able to bring the person to the crematory until Tuesday. They would have to wait to be cremated until the medical examiner came to view them, which isn't every day at the crematory because they're accepting cremations from all over the region. So it's usually a 3, sometimes 4 day turnaround when we get those ashes back and then can plan the burial. So that's a huge difference and a beautiful way to kind of condense the services.
yeah, yeah. I've even got the capability of where we can have a visitation with your loved one physically present. You can have a catered meal in there, and there's a possibility that you could have cremains back by the time you leave.
Wow. See, that's amazing. That's out. Come on, Massachusetts. Get
Yeah,
with the times.
yeah. Unfortunately, the state board in Massachusetts, we don't see them changing the rules around and the regulations to be more consumer friendly. Because truth be told, what I'm able to do now is I've by me having my own facility, I'm in dictation of the cost. I can lower the cost where
Yeah.
there's not a third party, and truthfully, it's been very welcomed for the consumer because they have that ability now to
Yeah.
pay less because
Yeah.
hey, there's no transportation costs. It's you're here. I don't have to transport them. I own the facility. It's all attached. It's in one building. It's
Yeah.
me and my staff. So there's a lot less of an overhead.
That's really beautiful. And do you find a lot of people are using the event center and having meals and
Uh,
celebrations there?
I'd say of the families that come in and have services within the funeral home, maybe about 25%, give or take, are having some kind of utilize, utilizing that space in some way, shape, or form.
Mm, that's great. That's great. The other thing I'd love to see get popular, especially with families that have tragic, sudden death and do a cremation and it's just kind of too much to put together the kind of celebration that they want to have like in the midst of everything happening. I would love to see a world where people start embracing like the year anniversary and having a celebration with an event, with food, with more personalization, with more time in between to like make a really beautiful tribute, make some videos, have people contribute to it, have people write things and maybe sing a song.
Our
Like
Jewish
an
friends,
event center would be perfect for that.
our Jewish friends do that.
Hmm.
After their service takes place, they unveil the monument and they do that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see that become the norm. Let's rewind a little bit. I want to hear a little more because I love introducing people in our world to my spirits, my fans. And I want them all to hear all the different reasons why many of us do what we do. Because not everyone is like me, a weird girl that grew up in the funeral home. You know what I mean? So I want to hear your story after I left you and you deployed. Like, how did you get from there to
Okay.
becoming a funeral director?
Yeah. So, yeah, you kind of gave me a little bit of inspiration. Like, hey, maybe doing all the funeral honors for. I was like, maybe I want to do this when I get back. Let's. I kind of looked at it and I was like, okay, that's 18 months down the line. I got to go to school. Okay, no big ordeal. So, we went to Fort Dix, New Jersey, for a couple of months to train before going up to Iraq.
Yeah.
And then, ironically, no, or not ironically, I shouldn't say that. That's probably bad terming. But the first week we're there in country, we lost someone. And
Oh,
I remember having what you and I can dictate it, a bad funeral, meaning like um, I didn't feel that warm and fuzzy feeling. So here I was, 21 years old, full of piss and vinegar, just all hyped up, all full of adrenaline because
mm,
you're thinking you're going to be fighting every day for the next 9 months or whatever it is that you're there for. And I was like, okay, fine, like whatever. It just all basically all of the bad feelings that you get from not being able to grieve. So
yeah.
I had this epiphany. I was like, well, let me watch some videos of his funeral, and I was completely livid. Like I didn't. It made things even worse. So there
Oh,
I was 21, full of that vinegar, ready to fight everybody, and in true Jonathan fashion, ready to fight everybody. I figured out which funeral home it was that did his services. So, of course, being 21 in a foreign country, what do? You get nothing you can do. So you end up realizing that, you know what, I'm going to send him a piece of my mind, and I'm going to type out. There I was, angry typing, like girl, like,
keyboard warrior, like the
oh yeah,
cat.
oh yeah, like very angry typing. And then I'm like, crap, what funeral home was it? Who am I sending this angry thing to? And I figure it out, and as it was actually Magoon Biggins Funeral Home in Hingham. So I figured it out, and I look at their website, and they had this video of it, and it made me so calm, cool, and collective that I was like, okay, delete that. This is what I'm gonna do when I get back. that, uh, that was, I'm gonna say, the true catalyst, or the last thing to push me into saying, this is what you have to do with your life. This is where you belong.
Yeah, like that calling.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's
Ugh.
yeah.
And you got to like after your deployment, you were in Texas, I think,
Uh, well,
or you went to school somewhere
yeah, my
outside of here.
Texas, it was all done online.
Oh, okay.
Did have to go there for the clinical portion, which is every school that's AF, whatever the board is, the education board says that, hey, you have to do the clinicals there, which are the embalming slash practicals, however you want to look at that.
Yeah.
So I got to spend a couple of weeks there. Got to kind of travel around. Things are a little different in Texas compared to what we were used to in Massachusetts, and certainly a different world than what I'm living here now in Vermont.
Is there anything specific that stands out that because I don't know about Texas funeral stuff. Anything weird that's different about Texas?
No, no, other than they definitely know how to barbecue. They like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, don't go there in what's considered, we consider the spring to the fall, because it's a lot hotter than we want it to be than what we're used to.
Oh, really? Like heavy hot Bay Harbor Beauty, my friend that's in here that has a line of skincare that's amazing. She's in Texas, so she can probably attest to the heat. she
Yeah.
keeps She's why I look like I've been embalmed, but I've not yet. My skin is finally being happy because of Bay Harbor Beauty. And ironically, I'm a big fan of Dexter. I don't know if you watch Dexter.
I haven't watched that yet.
But you've watched 6 Feet Under? Please tell
Yeah.
me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So David from 6 Feet Under plays Dexter in Dexter. And Dexter is about a serial killer. So David essentially is a serial killer, and you're in his head for this series. And he was adopted by a police officer, and they came up with a code once his adopted father picked up on the fact that his son might have some tendencies, and found a way to kind of feed that side of him in a safe way. First it started with like hunting and like let's find other ways to kind of get on top of this, and then it turned out he was seeing that wasn't really satisfying the dark passenger. So it turned into a code, like, we're gonna teach you how to do this safely and never get caught, but you only target people that deserve it.
Oh.
Like the people that the system cannot catch. Because as a police officer, he also knew very well that sometimes everyone on the force knows how guilty this person is, but you just don't have the evidence and everything that you're going to need to get the system to put them away. You know what I mean? And they end up falling through the cracks and staying free. So it turns into this really amazing series. But seeing this actor, Michael C. Hall, go from David and all the amazing characterization of 6 Feet Under to Dexter, where he's this like really he's kind of like an adorable geek, but also a serial killer. And he's such a good guy that you end up falling in love with Dexter and like rooting for him, even though he's a serial killer. Oh. And a lot of his murders get figured out and get framed on someone else. And the area nicknames the killer, because whenever there's like a killer they're trying to find, they give like a nickname, like the ice cream truck killer, da 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 da. His nickname Killing, when they couldn't figure out who it was the Bay Harbor Butcher. So when I first saw Bay Harbor Beauty, I was like, oh my God, what a great name. Are you a fan of Dexter? This is amazing. So I don't think she watches Dexter. I think Bay Harbor is like a special place that they actually go to and visit. So I don't know. So now that all to say, you need to watch Dexter, because there's like a prequel, full series, and then an aftermath. There's so much Dexter to watch. You should definitely, I recommend 10 out of 10.
Okay. All right. I'll take a look at that one then.
Yeah. It's not better than 6 Feet Under, because nothing is. In fact, the regular series ended so not well that they had to keep going because it couldn't end like that. So yeah, you'll have fun with the Bay Harbor Butcher. Okay. But if you ever want some pretty skin or a nice gift for your wife, check out Bay Harbor Beauty, because she's amazing. So yeah, so when you came back, you ended up getting to work for me and my family for a couple of years.
5 years.
Through the wild times of COVID.
Yes.
Which is always crazy. And then how did Vermont happen? Like, walk us through kind of that journey, how you ended up in Vermont.
It's going to sound like I'm making digs at your family, but I'm certainly
That's not. Fine. Hey, family businesses are tough, man. I'm in Taunton and happy to have, my own structure.
Well, yeah. So for me, I guess I would say I'm a born leader.
Yeah.
And family businesses and funeral homes, there's not that opportunity to be that leader 99% of that time. And it's just, sometimes unfortunately, you have to go out, in that sense. So simply put, I just simply said, okay, let's see what I can do, because I like working there, but I don't get to do what I really want to do, which is really make changes. More. Things better, and because my name's not on the wall. So I ended up finding a funeral home that was going to be listed for sale. I came up here, I drove with, I chatted with the owners, and their business plan that they were already currently running was exactly how I wanted to run a funeral home. So for me, it was kind of like the stars aligning, meaning, hey, this is what I want. This is the call volume I can handle alone because I'm going to be alone for a while. Although the
Yeah.
previous owners stayed on for a month or two, that was a temporary measure to kind of help me get situated, but it
Right.
was permanent. I had to kind of learn quickly on some of the back end stuff that I never recognized or learned or did because your family did it, such as the accounting, the bookkeeping, making sure you've got burial transit permits. From when I worked for your family, it was, hey, everything's front facing. I do all of that. Everything that the family sees, I see that. But what they don't see is, the death certificates, who files it, worrying about that. Do you have medical examiner's permission? Um, did the accounting get accomplished? Did they get a statement in the mail after that says, hey, we estimated the newspaper to be $500, but it was actually $320. So here's your refund. So I had to learn that part very, very quickly,
Mm.
because that was the biggest, I would say, the biggest transition. The other stuff kind of came easy because I had already been doing all of that, embalmings, meeting families. That was a piece of cake. I already knew how to do that. It was the back end and how to incorporate time. And while I had the previous owners, I was really adamant about it that they not do work, meaning they were there for mentorship and not
Yeah.
labor, because my words to them were, you're temporary in this sense. So I need your help to mentor me and get me through the humps that I don't know how to do, but I have to do this on my own because the sun is going to set in 2 months or 3 months or whatever it was, and you guys are free to not be here. So there was that. So that was I would say that was probably the biggest change after I took over.
Yeah. Was it a lot different than you had anticipated running a crematory too?
So when I first took over, the crematory was not there.
Oh,
That
I
was
thought it was.
No, that was an addition I put on. uh,
Wow.
Started when I was crunching the numbers to take over the firm. I wanted to build it right away, but I waited a year to build it just because of the numbers and
Mhm.
getting there. But I put an addition on. I put in the traditional crematory, um, and then I waited about a year and a half to put in the water cremation somewhere in that vicinity. I knew in my mind it needed to be done just because the cremation rate in Vermont here is like 80 to 85%.
Yeah.
It's quite compared to the firm that your family's firm. It's a complete 180 where 90% burials. It was 90% cremation rate.
Yeah, totally. And it's changing a lot. I think here we've climbed up to almost 30% cremation. So it's definitely changing. But we still have a lot of people that still want services with cremation, which a lot of people don't realize or do realize that you can still do.
Yeah, and I think that's been part of our problem as funeral directors collectively, that we didn't educate the public, and
Yeah.
the public generally assumes just cremate and nothing else. Well, no, it's not just nothing else. So even to the point where all of my families come in, um, hey, your mom's going to be cremated. No problem. Hey, that's certainly that's what mom wanted, but bring me in clothes. And they say to me, why? She's being cremated. And I say, no. It's not. It's because we're going to treat her the same way, and it's out
Right.
of pride, respect, and dignity for mom that we're going to dress her. And usually
Totally.
that kind of opens up that door to them thinking that cremation is what we're doing physically with the deceased, but doesn't mean that you can't have services before or after the cremation. Uh,
Yeah.
Even to the point where I stress to families, everyone has a service. Period. End of discussion. You can be what we call direct cremation or simple cremation. You're going to have a service, and
Right.
people look at me funny, and I say, well, when you get home and you put the cremains up on the mantle, that's a service. It's just we're not invited, but you did
Yeah.
yourself. It's private and intimate.
Yeah.
So the fact that people say that they don't want services, what they're saying is that they don't want services for the public, but everyone has a service, period, end of discussion, no matter how you view that.
Yes. 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 I like to always tell families too, like when people say things about, I don't want a viewing, I don't want to be laid out, I don't want to be displayed, that's usually having feelings about the public aspect of it. But then this same family comes to me and they're like, this is how my mom felt. She didn't want to be laid out and displayed, but we were all on a cruise and she died while we were gone and she wants to be cremated. Like, we want to see her. Like, are we going to go against her wishes? And we're always like, no. I mean, first off, we tell families always, like, we're never going to stop anyone from having a private viewing. Like, everyone deserves the right to see the person before they are cremated. And there's a lot of good reasons why you should, for identification, for peace of mind, but especially if you weren't able to be here and say goodbye or to see the person when they got sick or if something happened unexpectedly. There's a big difference between having a private viewing or even a private wake. Like, my family, we're a family of funeral directors. And what have we done for almost every death we've had in the last 7 or 8 years? We have an invite-only wake. And that's the informal, it's only people that we invite. We don't publicize it. It ends up being out of control. Like, for my grandfather, the invite-only wake had like 200 people, like so many people that it just got out of control. But like for my Aunt Anna, it was beautiful because we knew that what cancer had done to her body, she wouldn't have appreciated being displayed that way publicly. You know what I mean? But it also was such a tragic death for all of us because she was 58 and she was like the light of our family. We needed as a family to be together and to see her. And I remember one of the first videos, I don't know if you know Disrupt Media, but that's my media company and they are wonderful. They think out of the box. In the first recording session I ever did with Ryan, he's the CEO, he's wonderful. He was like, Amy, what is the definition of a funeral? And I was like, and it was like quick pace. So I was like, well, it's really just a mass acknowledgement of a death. It's a goodbye, however it needs to look for you and your family based on how the person lived and how your family does things. Like, that's it. However you want to place it, whether it's in a funeral home or around a kitchen table or at a restaurant, like there just needs to be that acknowledgement of the passing, telling some stories, something like that is the service. You know what I mean? And it can be so many different things. And we're here to adapt and help people with the logistics. But I don't know. I feel like it's a disservice when people think they don't want a funeral. You know what I mean? Oh, did I lose you? You went black. Oh, we might have lost Jonathan. Maybe he'll pop right back. I know the connection's still there. Oh, here he comes. I see a circle. Let's check the chat while we work on technical difficulties. See if I have any questions. Oh, we had some extra friends come in. Hi, C Star. It's so good to see you. Yay. Oh, awesome. Dr. Trey is here. Dr. Trey is awesome. Oh, what state is Jonathan in? Dr. Trey, he's in Vermont. He owns Minor Funeral and Cremation Center in Milton, Vermont, outside of Burlington. So he's in my favorite section of Vermont. Do you have to have a signed death certificate prior to the cremation? Yes. Nothing in funeral service, or even if you're not having a service or anything, nothing can happen without the death certificate being completed. Because until that's completed, we can't get the burial permit. And the burial permit is what gives us the legal ability to go to the crematory or go to the cemetery. So you can't do anything without filing everything. Hello, Jonathan. Welcome back.
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
That's okay. It happens, man. It's glitchy. We had some questions. Dr. Trey asked what state you're in. I told her we're in Vermont. Oh, man, maybe Vermont doesn't have as good Wi-Fi out in the mountains of beautiful Vermont. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Diana. I like to say that the most stressful part of my job is making sure that death certificates get filed, especially when the state completely changes the computer system that does them. When I started my career, death certificates were paper. and they had to be typed in black ink, and the doctor had to like sign in black pen, and we had to physically take the paper to the doctor's office, and they would always mess up. So that was really fun. Hey, we're back. Hi.
Oh, technical difficulties are starting to drive me bonkers.
So I was telling them a little bit about death certificates and how they used to be when they were paper. I remember I had a folder of like 100 blank copies of death certificates, and I would go to the doctor's office and sit in the waiting room. I'd sometimes be there for like 3 hours, and we would give it to the doctor with a post-it note with the info that they needed. And some doctors would be upset that it wouldn't be pre-typed out, and we'd be like, we're not going to type it until we know that you have filled it out without mistakes. Because there were things with the handwritten one, like the doctors would always mess up. Like the date had to be the month spelled out. It couldn't be abbreviated. So that would be one mess up. Or we'd like have post-it arrows, like only sign this box, stay in the lines, stay. And there'd always be something wrong. Like you can't cross out. So we'd have to go back and forth 5 million times. And we had a travel typewriter so that if, things went really bad, we could just type in the office or in the car. And then we had to take it to the burial, the health agent, board of health, and then to the city clerk. So it was like a whole thing doing death certificates. And then it became computerized, and we were like, yay, it's going to get easier.
No, it did not right away.
No, it was like attestations and fax this, and then this has to be done. And here's a weird, I feel like the technological level of quality of the death certificate program was like Nintendo, like original Nintendo, right? It was like that bad. And then we had all these funeral directors that didn't have young staff. So I was helping people in the area that were like, what is a tab? The instruction says, go to the tab 8. Like, what is a tab? Where do I click? So yeah, it took years to get used to the computerized system. But even in the computerized system, we as the funeral directors, we accept and get all the personal information from the family, and we enter that on their behalf. And then we have to chase the doctor and make sure we get the nurse pronouncement and make sure all of that is done, and then present it in a tied up bow to the city clerk and the board of health, who gets paid to register and finalize and nitpick or decline, and then finally sign it off and print the damn thing in paper. So yeah, it's wild. And they just changed the system again in Massachusetts last year. And it's supposed to be better. And it's like 60% better and like 40% worse. But it's getting there. I can hear you.
Yeah. I'm trying to hit the button because somebody keeps calling the funeral home, and someone has another staff member has the phones, but it still rings on my phone. Going back to technology.
Oh, that's why. Yes.
Yeah. So
gotta love technology. Can't handle doing more than one thing.
No, but it's okay. Yeah,
it's okay.
You say that because boy, that system I was dreading, knowing what I was going through in Massachusetts, just kind of being vaguely aware. And then when I came up here, it is so much easier.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I can issue the burial transit permits. I can sign them because we're deputized as the agents for the state, being a licensed funeral director.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's so
much. That
much.
makes so much sense.
Yeah, because guess what? Our license is on the line, and we need this, and this is a piece of paper. And then I think the greatest thing that I found here in Vermont was every single town cannot charge any more or any less for the burial transit permit and the certifieds. So it doesn't matter where a person passes away, you know what that dollar fee. Furthermore, it's not only where the person resided or where they died. So for example, I live in a town called Milton, and where the hospital is. So if I have a Milton resident pass away in Burlington, they can be down in the southern part of the state in Bennington, 3 hours away, and go to any town clerk's office and get a certified copy because it's digital, it's not paper anymore.
Yeah.
And the way that Massachusetts is, it's just everyone gets to charge their own thing instead of being uniform and being done with it. So it was that was one of the changes. I was like, oh yes, that is awesome.
That's
Uh,
wonderful.
yeah, the other change that I found to be very consumer friendly, for lack of a better term, was the cost of the cremation permit. And in addition to that, the medical examiner doesn't view everyone. So they look at the death certificate. So someone on hospice, they're like, yeah, we don't care. We're no concern on this one. You can
Right.
cremate, don't view at all. Whereas in Massachusetts, they require a viewing regardless, which is,
It's everyone.
well, yeah, and I also have the argument that, hey, Mr. Medical Examiner, this person was already in your care by the law, and for whatever reason, have at it, and now this family has to pay for the additional viewing. Or my personal favorite is someone passes away at home, medical examiner says, no thanks, we're not going to take jurisdiction, but yet they still have to be viewed by the medical examiner
Right.
when they already viewed them at the house and said no thank you.
Right. And for $300.
It's $300 there now.
Well, no, sorry, it's 200.
Oh, okay.
But it's about to go up to 300. We've been warned.
Oh,
And it doubled. It used to be 100 and then it
I know.
doubled to 200.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Rhode Island's only 31. So I don't know if people are lost and don't understand what we're talking about. Cremation has a lot of strictness with it because it cannot be undone. So like in Massachusetts, there's this archaic law that the minute you die, your body is now the custody of your next of kin. That's why nobody in Massachusetts can be cremated without the next of kin signing authorization for it. All states have different regulations with this, different levels of it, different parameters. Next of kin also comes into play with the medical examiner. If someone gets taken, when the medical examiner does an autopsy and takes the person to the medical examiner's office to do an autopsy, they will not release the body to anyone without the next of kin signing. So those are two scenarios where if the next of kin is not the person that the funeral home is dealing with, that can cause a problem. And I've talked in other shows like the baby mama effect, where
Oh,
we
yeah.
have the mother coming to us and she wants to be in charge. She knows that her son that died wanted to be cremated, but she's not the next of kin because he had 3 children with 3 different women. All children are under 18. So those 3 women are the next of kin and have to be on board with whatever the mother wants to do. So in Massachusetts, the other thing that we have with cremation is they force everyone that is cremated to be viewed by the medical examiner or to at least receive a medical examiner cremation permit. And that states that the medical examiner is either going to view them, you can have them come to the funeral home to view, they can be viewed while they're at the medical examiner for their autopsy, but you still got to pay for the permit. Or the medical examiners have a schedule where they visit every crematory in the state a certain amount of times a week, depending on volume. So for that medical examiner cremation permit, you're paying $200. And that is supposed to be or should be waived in some circumstances, and it really never is. And it's the cremation itself is $300. So it's just to give you a perspective of how asinine, in my opinion, this charge is. It's crazy. And then in Rhode Island, the same exact permit is $31. Oh, we have another question. Do you find less people being buried now that cremation is so popular? Yeah, I think we both have kind of seen that. We're seeing a whole view of Jonathan's office. We got all the angles.
Yeah, it's all going.
I like the ceiling. You could do
Yeah.
like that tin. Yes, we're definitely seeing more cremation. But like I said, we're seeing more cremation, but we still have a very decent amount of people that still are having services with the cremation. So, like Jonathan said before, there's often this misconception that cremation means no services, and that cremation means inexpensive. Really, all cremation is an alternative mode of disposition. So services, everything else is completely separate, and then you either go to the cemetery or you're cremated. So we have a lot of families that still get a casket, either a rental casket or a wooden casket, still have a service, still go to church, and then have the cremation, and then have the ashes buried or keep the ashes or scatter. So yeah, it's definitely changing. But like Jonathan said, we don't do a great job of educating, which is why we're here on the YouTube world.
Yeah. Yeah. What
Hello, G Johns. Welcome. I feel choosing cremation because it is I feel more choosing cremation because it is less expensive. That's definitely part of it for sure.
So yeah, cremation can obviously be less expensive because you don't have to pay for the cemetery, the opening and closing, the cost related to the traditional burial.
Yeah.
But unfortunately or fortunately, depending how you view it, families are still you're still doing the same services with the cremation that you are for your traditional families. You're still sitting down with them, you're still meeting them. Nothing changes in that aspect. That labor to pick your loved one up, that's still involved. That transportation for other facilities such as you to and from the crematory.
Yeah.
For me, I don't have that because obviously it's attached to my funeral home. So
Right.
yeah, the costs are a lot more economical because there's not the need for the cemetery cost, but
Mhm.
it can be more expensive. Than I've done some cremation services where it's more expensive than a traditional burial. Some of my traditional burial families because very expensive, a very nice looking wooden casket, going to church,
Mhm.
having visiting hours the night prior to, affecting the cremation overnight, going to the cemetery the next day. In
Mhm.
comparison, that family spent more than my average family in the traditional burial sense.
Right. Totally. There's a lot of little pieces that go into it, which is why every funeral home has what's called a general price list. We've been regulated by the FTC. And in the old days before this, funeral homes used to just package everything. And I think that's kind of what led to society thinking everything's kind of simple pricing. But funeral homes back then weren't able to really break down why they came up with these prices. It was just kind of, oh, you pick this casket and you want a funeral, everyone gets the same kind of funeral. That's X, Y, and Z amount of dollars. So ever since the FTC regulated, I think that was what, in the 70s? I don't even remember. It's been a long time since I took my boards. Um, everyone now, if and I urge you guys too, I want everyone to start calling funeral homes and dating funeral directors. You should be getting to know who you're going to end up be dealing with. Every funeral home has a general price list, and we all have to itemize and break down every single type of service that we provide and use a lot of the same terminology. We all have to have the same discounted packages if you're choosing no services at all. And if your forwarding remains, if someone dies here and they're visiting and we're just helping forward their body to, wherever they live for their service. Um, so yeah. Oh, this is let me read this. How does the first water cremation happen? Clinical trial, body donated to science. Somebody had to be the
Okay,
first.
I
Yeah,
was
how
getting
long has this been around?
So it's called alkaline hydrolysis, and it's been around for quite some time. My understanding in reading it was the Mayo Clinic was the first to utilize it commercially. Farmers were doing it; they just didn't realize they were doing it from the science point of view. So the byproduct or the
Wow.
essence is very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Fertile. It's very good for. It's a great fertilizer. Um, so what they realized was that the KOH, which is what actually does the work, the potassium hydroxide, that's when it started to become more sciencey. With anatomical donations, because that I would say from that was probably the more commercialization and the standardization of it. But farmers have been doing it for quite some time that they didn't recognize that what they were doing. But it's been around for quite some years. It's just that now we recognize it and know how to do it scientifically and control it. But yeah, the Mayo Clinic was, I want to say they were the first one to do it in a standard practice with the true science behind it.
Oh, wow. How did you come across deciding to do this? Like, did you find the company you wanted to deal with and that led to the decision, or kind of vice versa? Did you seek it out?
Um, I originally wanted to use the other company, but it just from a business point of view, the cost of their machinery, the cost of what I would have to charge families was just astronomical, and it would have been too much for families to make that decision. So for me, my traditional flame-based cremation is $450, where the water cremation is $995. And the only reason I charge more at this point in time is because of the cost of the chemicals.
Right.
The problem comes into play is um, I can only keep a certain amount of chemicals in the building, so I can't store them outside. So I have to keep chemicals in stock collectively. And you imagine they come in 55-gallon drums. So I can only order, you know, three pallets, excuse me, three pallets of chemicals, and I
Mm,
pay the same amount whether there's one chemical on each pallet or there's 4 55-gallon drums. So for me, a lot of the work I do is actually, hey, making sure I have enough because I know what the average person is,
wow.
I know how much chemicals it's going to use. So a lot of the math that I know and is behind there, the science is there. So getting back to the point though, the original company, I was not satisfied with their cost of the machine itself. It was going to take a 24-hour cycle, and they have a 4-hour cycle that was twice the price. And then in addition to that, it was just not a good fit to say the least.
Right.
Uh, and then I found this other company, and they only have one speed, and my cycle's roughly 2.5 to 3.5 hours, give or take somewhere in that vicinity. So that's actually that started that conversation, and I was kind of comfortable with it, and then I took the leap of faith and did it.
Very cool. Very cool. Is there 'cause I don't know, now that I'm thinking of chemicals and we were talking about back end of the business and how crazy all that fun stuff is. Does this mean extra like OSHA work for you because you're dealing with a whole different set of chemicals?
The
Like
standard
safety
stuff. Yeah,
wise?
yep, the standard stuff. Some of the all of the chemicals have to be in chemical cabinets with fire suppression in there. I can only have a certain amount of chemicals in the building, which brings up that conversation. But they're all collectively safe. It's an incredible setup how it works because when you substitute in the fuel source and use my particular system uses it to create the alkaline environment, for lack of a better term. It uses KOH, it uses ethanol. Those are the two things that do the work. And
Mm.
then once the work is done, I use acetic acid to bring that pH level from 14, bring it down to that 9, somewhere between 8.5 and 9, so that it can be discharged out to the municipal waste because that's their standard that they accept.
Oh, okay. And is there a shelf life too? Like, does that also come into your planning? Like how long these chemicals last when you buy
Um,
them?
it should be, they should be used within a year. That's what the manufacturer suggests. I haven't gone close to that long of a frame. I'm going through a decent amount, a lot of the 100% of my cremation families, roughly 80% are choosing the traditional. So
Yeah.
20% are choosing the water cremation. But because I'm the only fireless cremation in all of New England and my price point compared to those other folks, other funeral homes are coming to me instead of the other folks just because of the 800 or 900 or whatever it is dollar difference.
Yeah. Well, you'll be happy to know I have one prearrangement that wants your services.
Yeah.
She wants the Amy Vermont package.
Yeah. It's amazing too as well because with the water base, what I'm finding from comparison is that the cremains are absolutely white. They're very fine and sand-like, for lack of a
Oh,
better term. But what I find to be the most unique portion is that I'm able to give more cremains back by density, by weight. So what I'm finding have happening is, if the average cremains are 8 pounds, for lack of a better term, I'm able to give back about 10 pounds in cremains. It's roughly the same amount in a volume wise,
right.
because mine, the water cremation is very fine in the sand, it's a lot more dense.
That's interesting. That's like the number one comment we always get when I hand people ashes. They're always like, "Whoa, much heavier than I anticipated." So it's crazy to hear that water cremation, you end up even heavier, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, it's because that we're able to capture more of the bone fragments because with the traditional cremation, the science behind it is as the person's in the machine, it's simply not just heat, it's also turbulence, a lot
Mhm.
of wind, and anything light is going to get burnt up because that's just
Yeah,
the process there. It's very turbulent inside there compared
yeah.
to the water cremation where my machine in particular it simply rocks back and forth as it does its mechanical action and what does the
Oh,
work.
okay. So it's essentially gentler in that way physically too.
Oh yeah, nothing we do in with cremation is gentle per se to the deceased because it's
Right,
the destruction of the deceased. But
right.
in comparison, I find the water cremation to be astoundingly a lot and amazingly gentler just because I see the surgical implants that come back from the flame compared to the water, and the water is like a brand new piece of shiny stainless steel, and with the traditional flame, it's black, it's pitted, it's
Yeah,
just it looks abused for lack of a better term.
yeah. I remember seeing that when I toured the crematory. They showed me all the medical devices that they had, and I was shocked. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so they don't come out kind of destroyed like that. They're shiny.
They are absolutely shiny.
Wow.
So essentially, what happens, and here's part of the science is, uh, and I may gross some folks out when I say this, but if
Hey, a
you
lot
look
of
at
us like science here.
if you look at what soap is fat and lye or KOH.
Lie. Yeah.
So what happens with these machines, the alkaline hydrolysis, is it effectively creates soap, and that waving action, what does the work of cremating the deceased, it does the same thing to metal, so it actually cleans it up and makes it shiny.
Wow. That's really interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's kind of
that's part
wild.
of that's part of the science that I learned, and when I realized that, I was like, I kind of looked in disbelief and was like, "Wait a second." So it's effectively soap. Now, commercialized soap is different formulas, but hey, it's the same concept is there. It's kind of like
Right.
gasoline and diesel. They're both combustion engines. It's just kind of the similar concept.
Right. Right. Different way to get the same result.
Yeah.
Um, I'll put this for you. Do you recommend prepaying?
So I certainly recommend, at a minimum, pre-arranging your services. The financial obligation to be made. I always suggest to families when they sit down with me and for the pre-arrangements, I kind of turn it around to them and I say, if that death occurred today, how would you pay for this? Now,
Right.
sometimes they're going to say, I might have life insurance. I've got a $100,000 policy that is going to pay for this. Sometimes some families will say, oh, we have money that we're going to utilize for this. I always advocate for funding the funeral service in advance, especially with my firm because we price protect families. But at a minimum, get it on paper and figure
Mhm.
out how this is going to be, the costs are going to be covered because the most difficult conversation we have with families isn't about your loved one, isn't about the services, or isn't about if anything they want. It's about how are those costs ultimately going to end up being covered. And sometimes that difficult conversation turns into more difficulties because it does need to be paid, or at least the provisions for payment need to be
Right.
made before the services are rendered.
Right. Totally. I always like to tell people, I mean, like you said, sometimes the biggest burden is lifted just knowing that your wishes are on paper, that your family doesn't have to like play Jeopardy and know all the vital statistics that they might not know in a pinch. And not have to guess everything that you want. Like that has value in itself. But in terms of funding, it's always good if you can afford it because what people don't realize sometimes is prepaying. Like if you're liquid funding, that money is going to not be touched again until that person dies. So if you can comfortably afford to pre-fund and put that money away or make the commitment to like an insurance situation where you're making committed payments every month with the coverage built in, that's a commitment. That's great. Other than that, if you can't afford it and you're not sure what the next 10 years are going to look like, if you're going to need to protect money or not, or maybe it makes sense to leave money liquid because maybe you want to keep your loved one home longer, and it might make more sense to use that money on building a ramp and making the bathroom safer. Prearrangements can be adapted and strategically kind of presented to any family based on what their situation is. So I always recommend prepaying if it works, and sitting down with a funeral director that you jive with, that you feel like is listening to your situation, adapting to what your needs are, and presenting all your options without pushing you towards anything. Like, pre-planning should never feel like that. Like, hey, I need you to spend X amount of dollars or I'm not going to be able to feed my kids this week. That might not feel like a great pre-planning situation for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of different, we're going to do a lot of shows about pre-planning because there's so many ways to talk about it. Do you do a lot of the pre-arranging yourself, or do you have people that work for you that do it? Like, what is Vermont? Does Vermont let you do insurance?
Yep. Yeah. But Vermont is very not insurance friendly for the funeral director side. Let me rephrase that. A lot of funeral directors are afraid of the insurance because of what happened with ACA, the assurance company, which is not life insurance. So a lot of funeral directors are completely afraid of it because, I know what happened with ACA. They were a fraternal organization, and they went belly up. And because of that, and in addition to that, the state didn't force them to hold to their contracts. So they sold the contracts off at 45% loss. There's no growth anymore. But I am right now, I'm currently the only funeral director in my firm. I had a funeral director, and she was living in the southern part of the state, and she found employment closer to home for her, and it works for her, and she's happy. So I'm thankful for that opportunity. I am currently looking, although I think I have someone, but it's just me and an administrative assistant at the moment. So I'm doing everything. Most of the transfers taking deceased into our care. I have some staff for that, but I do all of the embalmings. I do all of the dressing and casketings. I do all of the cremations. The unfortunate part, when you own the business and your name is on the wall, you got to do it if you can't get anyone to do it for you or with you, because it's your livelihood. That's the one thing that I don't think the average person recognizes for business owners. It's funny. I was talking about that today to someone. Is they only see the front end and the business and the good stuff with it. They don't see the 2:00 in the mornings doing the accounting. They don't see all of the additional work that is needed and not accomplished.
I like to think of it as, like, picture a funeral director metaphor. Imagine going to a restaurant and your waitress, which is serving you impeccably, is also cooking your meal and also hostessing, managing the reservations, mixing the drinks, and paying the bills and closing up the book at the end of the night. Like, that's what it's like to be a funeral homeowner. Like, you do all of the things.
Yeah, and the hardest part I found was right. We have to be we're these strong and these people. We're always here for everyone else, your family, but sometimes we give keys to our family, and sometimes our family suffer. And I think that as funeral directors, one of the biggest work life balances is as we've been on here. This family's called, to get an obituary changed, and it's not even up on the website at the moment. And it's not that certainly sounds like I'm picking on them, but I'm not picking on them. What I'm merely suggesting is that everything we do is of the time essence, and we might be having dinner with our family, but hey, I'm sorry, I need to step away to take this phone call. I need to make this change.
It's the life.
Yeah. That's the
I
things
went to
that
see
people
Sex
don't
in the
see.
City in the movie theater with my best friends, the first one when it came out, and it was a big thing for me and my girlfriends. We loved the show, so when the movie came out, we made a whole night out of it. And I always had an anxiety about going to see movies because I hate being interrupted. And every time I go to see a movie, I'm like, please, nobody die. Please, nobody die. So at the end of Sex and the City, it was like this amazing, fun, lighthearted movie and packed theater. The kind of movie where it ended and everyone was clapping and like, woohoo. And right when it ended, we're all clapping and laughing. And I stand up, I'm like, yay, nobody died. And the woman behind me was like, oh my God, lady, you thought somebody would die in this movie? And I was like, no, 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 no. Like in my life, nobody died. Like I got through the movie without a call. And that was great. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that I imagine for a family, and most of my Vermont families understand here is, hey, you have a death and emergency, and we're coming. But sometimes, when we're coming, we have to take care of business for ourselves first. And what I mean by that is, hey, it snows a lot here. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes I got to spend an hour. I got to get the snow blower out. I got to get myself out before I can even get to the funeral home and do the same thing there, because the guy doesn't come at 2 a.m. He comes at 7 a.m. To clear out the entire lot. So that's what I found to be the most difficult part is we try to be there as much as we can, and we take away from our families and everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes
it's hard.
It's
hard. I want every family we serve to feel like they're the only family that exists. But like there was one day I had a stomach bug and I was literally like in my room sick it was like a 9-hour hell. Yep. And of course, that was the day when like a very dear friend of mine lost their mother. But I managed to, text who I needed to text and even have a phone call quickly with my friend to get what needed to be done. But I had to hide what was actually happening. You know what I mean? It's just hard, but the families, our families, when you are married to and living with and growing up in this industry, there's just this understanding of, okay, dad's got a call, like mom's got a call, death is happening, mom's got a funeral. Like my kids are just so used to it now. They understand that, like, especially if it's someone very close to me, like I'm going to be taken up for a couple of days. We were in Disney and that's when Bob Aruda died. Remember Bob Aruda?
Yeah.
A legend.
Yeah.
This guy worked for my family's funeral home for 56 years or something crazy. He was my favorite person in the world. I loved him so much. And he died while I was in Disney. And I remember like pulling out my laptop by the pool, letting my kids swim so I could like at least, talk with the family and set up a video tribute and do something to help. I had to honor this guy in any way that I could. That's the other thing. Do you feel that too? Like it's also your love language to help? Like if it's someone that you love or know that died?
Yeah. And the it's funny that you say that, because what I was going to just say was that the biggest problem we have as funeral directors is, Paul St. Louis said it best. Everyone attends a funeral service and then they go home and they go back to work. But unfortunately, work is one and the same, where our loved one was just there 2 days prior to, and somehow we're supposed to be telling, this family that comes in, hey, it's okay. I know what you're going through. Meanwhile, we're in our own world, in our own haze, and we have to kind of be that strong beacon for the next person. So it's really sometimes it's very difficult to be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because with a stoic person, and then sometimes we have to go back. Like within the first year I was here, it was awful. We had 2 young girls pass away in a motor vehicular accident, and I had both of the girls in the funeral home. And knowing what I know and how grief is, me and the staff were all yelling at each other like, whose pen is this? Give me this pen. Give me that pen. You've used too many pens this week. Give me this one. No one posted notes for you. Like we were yelling at each other for no reason. And in hindsight, I'm like, boy, do you think we dealt with that grief in our own way?
Yeah, right. Like we were all kind of affected by that.
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah.
Yeah, those stay with you. Those stay with you. But what about, like, let's end on a more lighthearted note. Any funny stories or unexpected things that have happened in your career as a funeral director?
No, no, nothing that the general public wouldn't understand. Some things, as funeral directors, we joke about, we know it, we know the lingo because of what happens. But I wouldn't say that I've had anything funny. I've certainly had some certainly unique situations, and
Mm,
I'm a true advocate for personalization in
yeah.
funeral. So, like, I'm going to use this young man that I used. He was cremated, and he absolutely loved motorcycles. And his obituary had motorcycles in it. The family was like, "Hey, we're going to bring his motorcycle in," and I'm like, "Hey, I got a better idea." They're like, "Well," I go, "Why don't we bring the motorcycle into the visitation room and let's put the urn on top of it because that's him." And they were like, "We can do that," and I'm like, "Yeah, see my name. My name's on the wall. I get to make the decisions." They're like, "Can
Oh,
we?"
I love that.
Um, so I advocate for stuff like that, and what I see happen with that is I see a lot more of the good in funeral service. I see a lot more people being open and speaking openly and more less confrontational and less
Yeah.
formal.
Yeah, it
Um,
helps.
yeah, what I would suggest to every funeral director, and I know this sounds so silly and stupid, but put a Keurig in your arrangements room. And
Mm,
what I mean by that is now you've taken it just by putting a Keurig in there. Now you've made it from business, like get rid of the desk, make it more inviting, make it more of a lounge,
mm,
because you're trying to alleviate some of these people's fears and what a funeral home is. And then when you're sitting behind a desk as a funeral director, and it's too business like, it's not personalization.
yeah,
Um, and that would be what I would say to everyone to do is
yeah.
put a coffee machine in and make it less formal.
I like that, I like that. I just remembered as you were talking, one of the services you did at when you worked with us that I loved, and that made me like, "Yes, Jonathan, you're meant for this." Remember the one, it was like you heard in the arrangement, I think that the guy loved hockey, and you had all
Yes,
the pallbearers wear
yes,
hockey jerseys. I was
yep, yep.
like,
Even better. Did you know the full story behind that? What else I did?
"No." I just was there when I
Yep.
saw the pallbearers come out, and I was like, "Yes."
So even better, all of the pallbearers, I wore a jersey too,
Mm,
and I had them sign that, and then I gave the jersey to the family afterwards, and I said, "Hey, this is what I wore," and I knew he was a big Bruins fan, and they all signed it. And then I gave her the jersey afterwards, and I said, "Hey, all the pallbearers signed this as their final act of love." And it was just like a turn to a Jesus moment of like, "Hey, you can be personalized, you can do everything, and you can." I think that jersey cost me like $100 or something, but to see that person acknowledge their loss and be like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know we could do that."
right.
And they were so happy and elated to have
Oh,
something tangible that was of value that I gave to them, from their service. And it was
yeah.
I try to do something similar or some kind of act like that in every way that someone gets something back that's tangible that they can hold on to.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Those are the things that make us love what we do.
Yeah,
Those are
yeah,
the
yeah.
moments. Those are the moments that make it worth it. Oh,
Yeah, not to pick on your father and uncle, but they didn't like that too much because that wasn't classic. That wasn't very traditional. But boy, did that family love it! They loved every second of it, and
mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Do you know about, I think you were in Vermont by then, but I snuck by and posted an obituary on my dad's funeral home's website for my friend, like I was helping do the service. And I just didn't, share it with them first. And it's the best obituary I've ever written in my life. There's this woman you should follow on TikTok and Instagram called Tips from Dead People. She finds really amazing obituaries and reads them and then pulls life lessons from them. So I sent her this one because I was like, I'm a funeral director and this is the best obituary I've ever written. The first line is Wes liked big butts and he could not lie. And the whole, like, he was my friend Wes. He died suddenly. I think it was like 2018 maybe. And he was like in my head. I don't know if you've ever had this feeling. I'm a weird person, but sometimes I feel like the person that died, if they were in my life, like I can like feel them kind of telling me what to do. And he was kind of like in my head, like, don't you dare. Don't you dare be traditional. Don't do anything
Yeah.
normal. Like I even felt weird like looking at the regular obituary card. He was
Yeah.
like, you better draw all over this with marker. Like, don't do this normal. Nothing can be normal. And that was why I asked, you know, my friend that was in his family if it's like, are you guys okay with me doing something a little different with the obituary? And they loved it.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that makes it just worth doing for such a weird job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Amy, for having me. I certainly appreciate it.
I am so happy that you got to come. I'm happy you get to meet my spirits, and you have gotten very happy reception. I have Posty 7 saying John seems great. He is great. Yeah. Oh, something about water cremation. Let me see if this is for you. I have a prepaid plot, and my family does traditional burial. I'm so interested in natural and water cremation. One place near me does water, but it's not who my family uses. Oh, what do you have advice for people that want to use like that dynamic of like, I want to go to a funeral home that I want to use, but we've always used somewhere else? Like, that's tough.
Yeah, so that's tough from I, that's tough from a personal side, because hey, we're kind of rooted in our ways. We've always gone to that funeral home.
Right.
What I would say is, hey, go there. People change. Businesses change. Go
Yeah.
there. See if who those folks there you're comfortable with. At the end of the day, you got to be comfortable with what you want at that point in time. But getting a little bit more into this person's, some facilities don't have it, so they, such as in Massachusetts, you can't do a cremation in your
Right.
funeral home, so they have to go to a third party. If your facility that or the funeral home that you are wanting services that they don't offer in house, they can certainly contract with a funeral home such as mine or a facility such as mine, where hey, they're going to do all of everything with you, the front facing, and then
Right.
they're going to bring me you physically, and I will do the water cremation, for example. So I would say to that person, reach out, chat with chat
With the
with your
funeral home
funeral
they
home.
have a relationship
Yep.
with.
Yeah, exactly. Keep that familial relationship, or at least attempt to. And sometimes it's not a good fit, and it's not that you know the people there are bad or they're good or indifferent. It's sometimes in funeral service, it's, is there that emotional connection, or is
Yeah.
that, hey, the way that I think of things and the way that person think of things are, they don't gel
They're
with each
different.
other, and that's what makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In that sense, I would certainly say reach out to your local funeral home and
Mm.
have that discussion with them.
And it can't help to ask because, like I said before, we are a service industry. So if you never ask the funeral home that your family goes to, who knows? They might have other people asking. That could lead to them maybe in the future before you need to use them
Yeah, yeah,
acquiring. You know what I mean?
yeah,
If they get people reaching out asking for it, you
yeah,
know? So
yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you. It's always good to see you. And if anyone in Massachusetts wants to take a nice trip up to Vermont, I'm happy to drive your loved one up there if they're interested in water cremation. I can visit my friend Jonathan, and I have another awesome friend Rachel that lives up there too. So yeah, happy to do it.
All right. Well, thank you and take care.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye. I'm so glad you guys get to meet him. He's wonderful. Ooh, what is this? Diana, when my parents were making their arrangement, the director asked what their wishes were. My dad said he wanted to be cremated and put in the Pacific. My mom said, don't you know, I don't know how to swim. Don, you know, I don't know how to swim. That's cute. That's adorable. Oh my God. Some of the funniest things come out of prearrangements, just hearing people's dynamic. Um, in my dad's funeral home where I started my career, we had this huge casket showroom. It's still there. And I think there's like 20 caskets in there. It's like 2 rooms. It's massive. And there's all these like different caskets, all different price points, beautiful, all different colors. And then there's this green one that's like yucky green. Like, you know, that like gross green, that like avocado green that just doesn't scream anything good. It's like that. There's like no luster to it, there's no flair. It's just like yuck green casket. And I was always like, Dad, why do we have this casket here? And he was like, well, you know, the only casket people usually remember is the ugly one. So that's partly why it's there, to kind of show a difference of, you know, what some lower end caskets look like, or some different options. Some people do like that color, and that's fine. But what ended up happening was, over the years, I'd do pre-arrangements and it became the punishment casket. I'd have couples come in, married couples come in to pre-arrange, and they'd have this like funny, silly banter. They'd be like joking about the whole process as we're going. And then we'd get to the casket room and there'd be discussion very similar to, all right, if you're happy with me, I'm hoping to be in this beautiful stainless steel casket here. But if you piss me off, I'm putting you in the crappy green. So it turned into like a joke kind of casket, and they had me like write notes on there, like if I'm not happy, he's going in the shitty casket, and that's what's happening. So yeah, you just never know what a pre-arrangement's going to bring. My favorite part about doing pre-arrangements is that it's not heavy with death. Like, it should be something where you're infusing personality and humor and creativity into, because once you get the like plan in your head, or even that pressure off your brain of like, I have no wishes in paper, like as it stands right now, none of these plans are made, and there's like a heaviness of like, what will my kids go through if I die right now and there's no plans in place? That's a weight. So once we start lifting that weight off, I find a lot of families being like, you know what, this is kind of fun. Like, hey, make sure this song is played. Like, I'd like you to play Another One Bites the Dust. Like, I want some weird stuff to happen at my funeral. Can I leave letters with you that you'll give to my family? Can we play jokes on people? Like, yeah, the sky is the limit. The other thing I love to do in pre-arrangements is to have people make categories of their wishes into non-negotiables and things you're okay with your family modifying, because you can't tell the future. Okay, for instance, we still have pre-arrangements in my cabinet right now from the early 90s, the late 80s. And back then it was like 3 days of viewing, 4 limos, like a rosary mass and a funeral mass, like totally different looking funerals than they are today. And when those people pass away, they come to us and they're like, oh my God, she lived to 103. Like, she outlived everybody. Do we have to do what she picked out in 1989? And we're like, no, you can definitely modify. You know, you don't have to use 4 limos if you only have like 11 people coming to the funeral. So that's a good example of how like you're picking out and you're planning everything based on what you're thinking right now, but you don't know what the trend's going to be like when you actually do pass. You don't know what the situation's going to be. You don't know what your family's going to be going through. That example I gave before, where, you know, it could be sudden and your family might not be here. They might be on vacation and not able to see you. So if you're not wanting to have a wake, why don't we write out that your non-negotiable is that you don't want a public viewing. You don't want to be laid out for any stranger off the street to be coming into the funeral and seeing me laid out, like by publicizing in the obituary. I'm fine with my family and my loved ones and my closest circle of people to come and see me, but I don't want a public wake. That's a big difference, and that gives a lot of freedom. Most families that I sit with across the room that don't have plans in place, there's an extra layer on top of the fog and the heaviness of grief. There's an extra layer of stress with like trying to guess what their loved ones would have wanted. And is what I think we should do okay? Or is that not okay? And it's like a struggle and an internal stress that can be avoided and should be avoided. And putting things in writing and starting a file and having your family know that things are at least not, I don't know, just in the ether, that there's a plan, whether it's funded or not, has a lot of value. Has a lot of value to just get it in writing. Parameters. Um, what was this? Do you have a different view on life being around death every day? I kind of do. It's often changing and sometimes good and sometimes bad. Because sometimes it makes my anxiety worse. Like I have this irrational fear that because I'm a funeral director, I'm gonna die in a horrible way where I can't have a funeral. I've never said that out loud, even to my therapist. Like every time I fly or do anything crazy where I know the chances of a crash aren't likely, I'm like, it's just my luck that that's how I'm going to go. Like it's going to be something like an explosion or a plane crash or something where there's no body. And that makes me sad because I personally need to see the person that died, or I need to at least be around the acknowledgement of the death for me to like intrinsically feel the reality of that death, whether it's an elaborate formal service or not. Like if it doesn't happen, it doesn't feel as real for me, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. So I want my family to have that closure somehow. So that's one irrational thing. The one positive I think from being around death every day is I'm constantly reminded what is important and what is not important. Um, I see a lot of patterns that I'm hoping to avoid. I see a lot of people that like die around or late retirement age, and you hear that sentiment of like, we finally like this is what we worked for, and it's always the spouse that's left behind. You know what I mean? That's like, like we put off all this stuff because we just wanted to do the right thing and support everybody and make everything work and do all the right things so that we could retire and finally enjoy each other and travel and do the things we always wanted to do. We just kept putting it off. And then they finally retire, and that's when sickness happens or death. And it makes me really hope that I'm making the most out of every moment that I can. And I know that like I own a business and my business is great and my partners are wonderful and we make enough money to survive, but I'm definitely not, you know, floating through life easy. This is not an easy business. We are small, we are new, we just bought, when a funeral home succeeds and is bought, it's expensive. So even with those challenges, we're doing great and we're always fulfilled with what we're doing. But I'm always checking myself to make sure that I'm not letting the stress or the workload get in the way of enjoying like the little moments, even though like I can't afford or have the time to do the traveling I wish I could do right now. I have not taken a day off in 9 years. I travel and I go on vacations usually to visit family, and we have done things fun, but I always have to work. There's a certain amount of things. I'm like a one woman band of the management. So if I don't, press a few buttons a couple hours every day, nobody's getting paid and nothing's happening. And I accept that and I love that. But being around death every day helps me kind of balance, because it helps me realize that even though I am putting off maybe some of the bigger, more fancy things in life, the smaller moments do matter. And I know that the moments that I do have with my children, with my husband, with my family, even though they're not extravagant or fancy, they're beautiful and they're present and they're meaningful. And I thank my job for making me prioritize that. So that's one positive thing. The other thing I think about life because of funerals is I think there is a strong connection still after someone dies. I don't know all the answers, and I don't think anyone does until they die. But I think the fact that once someone does die, they know everything. I feel like that brings a sense of peace. I do believe it's heaven. But even beyond that, like I think immediately when someone dies, like all the questions they've ever had are answered. Everything makes sense. And there's just a sense of peace that is so profound that once the family and everyone that is left behind can get through their process of grief and even tap into it during the process of grief, it kind of helps make the goodbye more meaningful. I don't know. Like, and I think it's tied into how things kind of come together. I think it's tied into how people know or have somewhat of the control of when they let go and actually die. Like I really do believe that. I see there's no way all the stories that I've heard aren't real. You know what I mean? Like there is something beyond, you have to kind of be at peace and let go. So I don't know. Those are kind of the things. Thank you for that question. That was deep. Posty7, you're wonderful. Are you a Post Malone fan? That's what makes me think of. What is this? Any tips on bringing up the subject of prearrangement with parents, ages 75? Really tough. It depends your foundation, okay? You want to start with looking at what your baseline communication vibe is anyway. You know what I mean? Are you the kind of family that you're able to already kind of communicate about like logistical things or heavy things? Or does there need to be a little like dancing around the subject and a little humor to break the ice? You know what I mean? Like think first from previous discussions and what you already know. Okay. Another trick I like to say is it's all in how you start, right? Sometimes starting, it's kind of like obituaries. When I'm meeting with a family, like there's a lot of pressure to be like, hey, write your loved one's obituary here. You're grieving. Now here's a blank page. Figure it out. No, we don't do that. I want the family to infuse whatever they can into the obituary. I like to take whatever I gather from them in the arrangement and give them a draft to work off of, right? So give them an icebreaker to kind of start the conversation. And the easiest way I find to avoid the heavy question being what you start with, like, what do you want us to do when you die? Is to be like, hey, what do you not want? What do you not like about funerals? Like, what do you want to make sure I don't do when you pass away? Because that triggers the brain into, I assure you, already communicating the things that they've already thought about. Because people can tap into what they don't want and what they don't like about funerals a lot quicker, and more comfortably than communicating, well, first off, I'd like this, and here's where I want everyone seated, and here's that. Like that's a heavier door to open. You know what I mean? But start with, okay, I'm glad you asked. Please don't do this. I hate when people do that. I don't like this. And that picture of me, I better never see that used. If you use this picture of me, I will haunt you. Like, get the conversation going first from the things that they don't want. And that does the double-ended beauty of taking the pressure off you, knowing that when the time comes, you're not going to do any of the things they don't want you to do because you already know. Like, even if they don't go through with like fully planning everything, you at least know clearly what to safely avoid so that you're not going to upset them. And it opens the door to being able to put everything else together. And then usually the rest of the conversation can come. The logistics you want to ask for, maybe start smaller. Like, where do you keep all the important documents? Like, is there already a family plot that I don't know about? Like, have you and mom ever talked about what you want? Do you guys want the same thing? Like, start with smaller questions is my biggest advice. Start with the negatives first and then work towards the positives. And ask them if they already have or know a funeral home. And you might already know this. Like, a lot of people, if you live in certain areas, sometimes you just know, like, our family always goes to this one, or we always go to that one. But offer to, like, is it okay if I call the funeral home and ask some questions? Like, get permission to date the funeral director. You know what I mean? To find out if there's a file and what the process is like. Because you might find that when you're asking your parents what they don't want, they might feel superstitious about pre planning. And if that comes up, that means let's do this out of the box. That means maybe talk to the funeral director and see what alternatives do you have for people that are anxious about prearranging. First off, I always say, don't make them come to the funeral home. We can meet at the house or at a coffee shop. Like, this whole process of getting to know what they want to do and how to plan it and put it down on paper doesn't have to be as heavy as come walk into a funeral home where you've probably already been traumatized by grieving like 8 million people in your life already. And let's come in and talk about you and feel like Scrooge. You know what I mean? We can always do things differently. And you will have an idea of the funeral home that you might already know about, but which funeral director you drive with, or they might leave it all up to you, and you can make some calls and see what feels right. There should be a budding relationship feeling. You should feel like when you call a funeral home out of the blue, you're not being rushed, you're not being cut off, you're not being pushed, and you have every right to not ever call them back if you do. You know what I mean? There's never an obligation. Funeral homes do not charge for prearrangements. We never do. We make money when people die. If we're helping set up a prearrangement, it's benefiting us business wise only as goodwill. That goes to our, goodwill if we ever need to get valued. Beyond that, it's the benefit of the family, because you're having the funeral director help you make a file that now exists and has to be followed up on. Whether prearrangements are funded or not, or insurance assignments or anything, most states make those prearrangements state regulated contracts, whether they're funded or not. So family members need to be followed up with and notified if something happens to that funeral home. You know what I mean? So that you can get that information. You can take it somewhere else. So I don't know. There's a lot of benefits to doing this, and the conversation is where it starts. I've also heard in a seminar I was at that watching a movie together that deals with anything end of life sometimes helps spark the conversation. That was kind of a cool trick that I saw. There's also a really great website. I think it's called The 4 Questions. I'll find it and I'll put it in the note. There's a whole website about how to have this conversation. And it's also about, like, introspectively for yourself, like, if people want to figure out how they want to make their own plans and have the conversation with their family if they're the ones that are dying or want to do this. I think it's The 4 Questions, but I will find it and put it in there because it has really great, like, sparking questions. I'm having a midlife crisis at 41, and this is a huge fear right now. Only waiting until retirement to enjoy life. Totally. I feel that. Like, my brain toggles from, oh my God, am I putting too much off? Am I making enough out of all my time? Am I being present enough? Am I too stressed out? Am I not stressed out enough? Am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? And how much time do I have? Like, logistically, I'm 20 years away from retirement, though in my industry, we don't usually end up retiring at normal times. Um, but yeah, I mean, how long do I have with my parents? Like, we went to Canada on a ski trip in February, and that was the first time my kids went to my mountain, like the mountain I grew up loving twice a year, almost every year of my childhood. And to see my kids there with my parents and my dad skiing with my children and all the traditions and the smells and the food, I was an emotional mushball the whole time, just thinking like, is how many more times is this going to happen? You know, it's a lot. It's a lot. Ooh, good angle. Yep, definitely have a no list. Always ask for the no list. Especially when it comes to pictures. Like for women, always ask, like, what pictures do you love of yourself? Because every woman knows. Like I can think of maybe 5 pictures that I love and approve of myself and hundreds that I hate. So always, take note. Take note. If you notice your family, your mother, your aunt mention like, "Oh, this is my favorite picture of myself." Remember that. Ask if you can scan it. Save it in your phone. That's huge. Men too, but more women. Women are more vocal about it. The other tricks I have are to pick caskets for men, especially. Look at their cars. Take an average of all the cars they've had over their lifetime, and you'll see a style, a trend, a certain group of colors. That's most likely the vibe of the casket they'll want. Women, think of what style they go for if they're going to a wedding. Do they go for bold colors, elegant, classic, muted, nude? Like it's just, I don't know. Women, what we pick when we're going to a really fancy event usually reflects our personal style. And that can also be reflected in the casket, because for women there's neutral and there's overly feminine, there's kind of in between, there's really bold colors. So I don't know, I always bring that up when selecting caskets, because caskets are, I mean, you're not selecting caskets to like fall in love with a casket. Nobody loves a casket. You want to pick something that kind of matches and mimics the style that you have, you know what I mean? And you want to think about what you think the person might want to be wearing in that casket. Maybe if they want to wear a really bold color, maybe not pick the most bold, contrasting, possibly clashing casket color. Maybe have something more neutral to, you know, contrast it, make it look nice. Eldest daughter here. I'm an oldest too. Eldest. Yes. Lucky to have a healthy, God bless her, 92-year-old mom. Oh, she must be amazing. There is nothing better than 90-year-old women. Well, and men too. But the women I meet in their 90s are so sassy. I met a woman that I think she's 93, 96. No, she was 96. Still drives, still like runs her whole life, still is active, still socializes. She looks not a day over 70. Did not believe she was in her 90s. Like that is like the goal. If I'm going to live that long, I want to be sassy and independent and like not give too many F's about anything. I feel like that's the goal for older life. Oh, here we go. She's completed pre-arrangements, church. Wow, even the after party food. She sounds like my kind of lady. She knows what she wants. Discussion was about helping us help her have what she wanted at the end of life. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. That's what it should be. It should be, it's understandable to have anxiety and premonition about prearranging and feeling weird about it. But 9 times out of 10, it leads to like the pressure lifting. And then all of a sudden, there's room for like meaningfulness. Almost like, I wouldn't say euphoria, but there's like this other part of your brain that opens up, and like now we have room to think about like meaningful things and personalization and things that can like make things so special for yourself and your loved ones. Like those are the gifts that can come from getting the heavy stuff out of your brain, getting it on paper, and then make room for everything else, you know? I had to make my own funeral arrangements for school, and I had that experience. Like that's what it felt like. I was like, "Oh man, I gotta pick out my own funeral." And then I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, how do I want to help the people I love say goodbye to me and feel like my love, like I want to make this better and easier for them." So I had this like plan to be like a DJ at my funeral and play certain songs, but have the funeral director like give shout outs like, and Amy wants this song. This song goes out to Chicky, and it's gonna be like in your eyes. And you know, this song, and the friends that I play the songs for are gonna know exactly why I picked those songs. And that's gonna be like a gift in the moment, a laugh, a cry, or both. I don't know. Like those are the things that can come out when you remove the heavy stuff. Oh, plenty of tears and hugs, yet her dignity preserved. Yes, those are the goals. You want grief. Grief is something that needs to be processed. And if it's not processed mentally and physically, it's going to find a way to do what it needs to do, and sometimes at the detriment to your mental and physical health. So, if the goodbye can be as meaningful as possible, it just starts the foundation of grief in a way that allows the process to be welcome. You know what I mean? Like that's why I want the funeral industry to stop being so secretive or afraid to talk, because where the people that do the human work, that sit with the people and hold the hands and guide the people, and regardless of what type of service it is or not service at all, it's where the seeds are planted for meaningful goodbyes. And I want them to be better and better. And I want people to know all of the options that they have. I want to live in a world where we're never going to hear anyone related to a funeral be like, I had no idea you could do that. I want everyone to know, like, the sky's the limit. You can do anything besides harm people or, like, you know, have sex at a funeral. Like, I mean, common decency and legalities, not breaking laws. I mean, the sky is the limit. It could be anything. It could be anything. Amy, how would you counsel around anticipatory grief? It can be paralyzing. It is paralyzing. Sometimes it's more paralyzing than the grief itself, especially I find if anticipatory grief is compounded with being the caregiver. There's a lot of complexity with this. The best way to counsel around it, honestly, is organic. Doing everything you can to not isolate yourself. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of pre-grief, a lot of pre-emotion, and there's a lot of feeling like nobody's going to understand, or everybody else is going through so much. I don't want to burden anybody. Everyone in your life knows what you're going through and wishes they knew how to help you. They're just waiting for you to open the door to let them sit with you. So open those doors. Try not to isolate yourself. Try not to. It sounds contradictory to counsel and better handle the anticipatory grief. It's not really about pushing it away and avoiding it. You still have to like feel it, because there is valid grief in the levels that you experience and your loved one experiences leading up to the death itself, because there's stages of it. You know what I mean? There's the grief of it becoming terminal. There's the grief of certain things that they used to do that they cannot do anymore. There's the grief of so many things that get lost and chipped away. And those are all valid and justifying things. So the only simple way I can say is don't isolate yourself. Give yourself permission to feel what you need to feel. Also, give yourself permission to say yes and no. Like whatever first intuition you have when someone presents you with something, go with it. Give yourself permission to accept that you're not a burden, because the people around you are helpless. They're more helpless than you are. And they know your situation. So if you reach out, even if you don't know what you want, they're gonna comfort you in any way that they can. So yeah, I guess that's my best advice for anticipatory grief, and talking to other people that are going through the same thing. Especially if it's like a terminal situation with certain sicknesses, or if you're in hospice, resources. There are groups and support systems and resources specifically for anticipatory grief, for caregiver. So yeah, see what resources are around, and talking to other people in a room, whether you have the ability or the courage or the mindset to even share, just hearing that 3 other people in the room are going through the same thing that you are, it just helps lighten something. So yeah, just try not to isolate yourself. So does anyone else have any questions? We're coming up on 6 p.m. and I need to pee. I'm like amazed when I last 2 hours without going to the bathroom. Oh, and my sister, we can silence that. I'll call her back. I have the best sisters. They're awesome. I work in hospice, and there are many resources out there for both family and patients. Yes, every hospice company I know of not only has resources and support programs and peer-to-peer programs, they also have amazing chaplains. So even if you're not comfortable with programs or therapies, or sometimes they have art there, there's all different kinds that they offer. And sometimes like taking that first step of like going to something that is offered might be too much. They also have chaplains that you can reach out to one-on-one, and they are always amazing. Just to be a chaplain, you're already an amazing human. They're just wonderful. Hello, other sister. So Melanie was calling me, and now here is my Acha, Nico. I don't know if you remember her, my spirits. She popped up and said hello when we had Megan on. Hello, Nico, Acha, Patricia. How are you? Happy Friday. Yeah, if you want to text Melanie, let her know I am not ignoring her. I'm just live on YouTube, and I will call her soon. Do you find people wait too long for this service? Yeah. Diana, do you feel okay? Oh no, was that Sea Star? Who said that? Earth Angel? Yes. Hospice workers are angels on earth. And, sometimes people do wait too long. But so many different reasons for that. And it's gotten so much worse like since COVID, because like agoraphobia has really become a big thing, quite widespread. And I think people are still battling with different levels of it after like all that forced isolation. It became a comfort in some ways. And caregiving in general, like there's anticipatory grief, there's caregiving burden, there's so much of like splitting your brain in between like doing what you have to do and the reality of the person dying, and compartmentalizing your grief. And then there's the death itself, and then there's the fog and almost the like replacement of the caregiving tasking to now the funeral. And it almost makes it so sometimes you're not even really present for the funeral process or the planning. Like everything's just kind of blur, fog, heavy. And then when it lifts, now your whole day-to-day life has abruptly changed. You know, you it's hard to realize how much your life revolved around your caregiving, whether it was 6 months, 3 months, 2 years, 4 years. It is so intense. They're on your brain like every minute of every day. And it's not even just like you're thinking and reveling. Like every decision you make has to be filtered through planning around what works or doesn't work for the caregiving and managing, and like it's just so multi-level, and then it abruptly stops, and that's jarring and so hard. So caregiver to caregiver groups, most hospices do have them. Most grief websites do have specific. Just search that keyword caregiver, because there is a lot of specific support for caregivers. Yes, many people think hospice is just the last few days of life, but it is. It's so much more. It's so much more. They they are there to support the person that is dying, the family that supports them. So much of the function, it's not just like medical needs, it's spiritual needs, it's companionship. Sometimes it's errands and helping with the animals, and there's just so much that comes into hospice care, and it really fully adapts to every specific situation. And hospice doesn't always mean in the home. A lot of people are on hospice in facilities, in hospitals, in nursing homes. You can still have hospice care. There's so much about hospice that people don't realize. And palliative care. Hospice doesn't always mean someone is dying. Um, it means that they're being helped, and not being the treatment is not about trying to work towards a cure. So sometimes that could mean someone's dying, or it could mean they're just trying to make the person comfortable, but not trying to diagnose, treat, and cure something to get better. There's so many different levels to it. We did bereavement visits. It's hard when all of a sudden everyone is gone. Yes. The follow up that hospice programs do and chaplains, it's so important and it's so beautiful. Ah, yes. Everyone, if anyone out there feels like they need something, guidance, support, to talk to someone that's been through what you're going through, hospice, anywhere where you live, there is a hospice organization. That is always a great resource to start. If you're wondering if there's grief resources and support groups around you, these things exist everywhere, but they don't jump in front of your face like when you're thinking of a green couch and all of a sudden Amazon throws it in front of you when you're on Facebook and everywhere you go. Like there's no targeted advertising for grief support. You kind of have to seek it out. But if you reach out and check out your local hospice, that 90% I can almost guarantee that's going to lead to actual support resources in your area. So always a great place to start. Where I live here in Massachusetts, Hope Health Hospice is wonderful. I am always amazed at how large and how much variety their support resources are. So much. They do everything, and they're constantly changing and adapting to whatever people need, and they cover such a huge area. It's absolutely beautiful. We do the no one dies alone. Local places call when that is the case, and we go. Oh, that's beautiful too. God bless you all. I have the best people. I can't believe 400 people are watching right now. Hello. I'm glad I'm not standing in front of 400 people. Hi. So thank you again. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you replay crew, anyone that catches this at any time if you ever need it. I am going to look for the 4 questions, I think is what it's called. When I find it, I will add it to the show notes. And I am always, always, always available. I love questions. Please reach out. If you have anything you want me to specifically cover, if you are curious about anything, I love questions, especially when people think they're crazy. Crazy questions don't exist. Try me. Try me. Maybe we'll do a whole show where I try to put together all the crazy questions I've been asked over the years. But here is my show email. Anything is on the table. Ask me literally anything. Thank you, C Star. Oh, that went on Facebook too. Yay. You're very welcome, Diana. Thank you, Carrie. So good to see you. Yes, everyone, please remember to like and subscribe if you're watching on Facebook or X. I would appreciate it so much if you could visit the Funeral Lady channel on YouTube and subscribe. It's completely free, and it would mean the world to me. Liking and subscribing helps with the algorithm and puts my stuff out there. Also, my channel, I am trying to fill it up. I have hundreds of videos that I've done in short topics over the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm in the process of getting those all loaded on the channel and organizing them into playlists so that you can look up certain topics. So please check those out. I also have a playlist called Funeral Content That I Love, and every time I see like a really good eulogy or a great movie scene or TV scene, I don't know, stuff that I don't think I can show here on a live, I put in that playlist. If you have special songs that are very meaningful for you as songs to make you love and remember people that have passed away, please share them with me. I am curating a playlist that I've made throughout the years where I collect all of the songs I've used for tributes that I've made as a funeral director. And it's amazing how many different varieties of songs people have used for slideshows. And whenever I find them, I add them too. So if you're ever looking for some great songs to memorialize people with, on Spotify, my playlist is called Funeral Lady Heart Songs, and it's also linked in my bio on YouTube. So yeah, thank you again for enjoying a Friday with me, and I hope to see you next Friday. I might have another fun and wonderful funeral guest. And I think you will not be disappointed. It will be fun. And thank you again, spirits. I appreciate every single one. So go out and make the most out of every day and prioritize the things that matter and let go of the shit that doesn't. Take care, guys.
Since we've all formed this partnership and we've agreed on just about everything, and we've always talked about everything. We want to keep it homey. We don't want this big hall. We want to keep it family owned.
The last 3 years have just gone by so fast, and it is true that the partnership that we have has been so amazing, and I don't look at it so much as a partnership, but more as a friendship, which everyone views that of the three of us.
I love how real we are. I think part of what makes us awesome is we come from so many different backgrounds in the industry, different types of businesses, different lifestyles, different somewhat ages. I'm only slightly younger. But we're able to communicate and structure our business around the things that we love and want to improve on from what we've actually been through. What works? What do we love about what we do? And what do we think can be better?
I really love helping people. I like making the friendships with the families, especially the newer families that are coming to us and totally putting their trust in us. And I mean, I'm very open with them and showing them everything and letting them make all of their decisions.
We are able to completely cater everything we do to the needs of every family because they're all so different.
Every family that I meet with, I try to find out about their loved one and try to
definitely.
personalize each moment, each
Right.
celebration of that person's life, and it means so much to me for them to tell me about their loved one.
I think we read people amazingly.
I had a family the other day, and it came time to select the casket, and I started off right at the bottom, and I said, I'm going to show you why caskets go up. And I actually talked them down a tier, and they were looking at me like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. The funeral homes are, in their perspective, is supposed to be making a lot of money and pushing you into things. They felt so comfortable, and I was comfortable too.
We love what we
Exactly.
do, we do our best job, and we price to reflect that. And the people, it's up to them, and they've shown that they appreciate it.
We had a family that came in, and they were big animal lovers. And we had a picture of Nissa on the wall, our comfort dog. And they said, oh my God, what a beautiful dog. And the husband, you could see, needed cheering up. I said, would you like to meet Nissa? I got you. Here comes Nissa. And the husband was hugging her, and Nissa was licking him, and they thought it was great. Now, you couldn't do that with every family, but they just
No,
thought
but at that
it
moment,
was great.
it was the right moment.
There's all the funeral homes in this area are good, professional, and but I wouldn't have been able to do that working for another funeral home.
When society doesn't talk about funerals and grief and death as much as other industries, it makes our consumers by default expect what they assume is the right way.
Right.
So when
So
we're
it's like this
offering them
cycle
something
of
else,
holding everybody back.
and we cry with them, and we
Okay.
laugh with them, and we can be silly with them, we can be serious with them.
There is
Everyone-
no judgment in this time. You and your family are grieving, and everybody grieves differently. Every family is different. How can people expect things to go a certain way?
People sometimes don't realize that when they've lost a loved one at 2 o'clock in the morning, we were with them, and then we're meeting it with them the next day, but it doesn't end for us like it doesn't end for them. And it's all on us to make everything okay for them.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. We take everything home with us, the
Yes.
emotions, the feelings. We can't just turn it off. And there's nights you lay in bed and you can't turn it off.
If the clergy is looking the way we conduct the funerals, the way we handle people, and recommending us, that is the best feeling in the world.
I think we've inspired the families that we've helped this year to embrace the more intimate and private elements of these services. I remember families saying, I didn't realize how meaningful this could be. Like the super informal conversations. It's the one thing, I would say, out of what happened with COVID that I hope continues. And I'm proud of us.
Well, absolutely.